Naio Hockey is a new brand to the market. It's been created by several industry experts who have come together to start something new. When they reached out and asked if I wanted to try one of their sticks, I jumped at the chance. They kindly sent me their Wraith limited edition stick. Now this is an 85% carbon stick featuring an extreme low bow with a maximum bow of 24mm located 200mm from the head of the stick. The stick features black and silver graphics, and the stick that I received weighed in at 538 grams with a balance point 41 centimeters from the head of the stick. When it came to using the stick, the first thing I noticed was that despite the higher weight and balance point, it actually had a very light feeling head. So the head of the stick felt very light, so it was great for using close skills. It allowed a lot of stick speed. You could move the ball quite quickly with minimal effort. The extra weight does give the stick a little bit more material, so when you are going into tackles, that extra weight allows you to ride through heavy tackles more easily than with a lighter stick. The 85% carbon gives a nice balance of stiffness and flex, especially when you're using it in the cold, as I was in this review footage. The stick is flexible enough to aid with difficult traps, having a little bit of give to just take the edge off those hard balls hit into you. The stick is still very stiff though, so when you're dribbling it's very responsive. You maybe don't feel every divot of the ball as you do with some very high carbon sticks, but it gives more than enough feedback for you to have the ball under control and know exactly where it is on the head of the stick. This was a really nice balance for dribbling, in terms of feel on the ball, the weight distribution and the responsiveness. I had a lot of confidence carrying the ball with this stick, even when receiving the ball in difficult areas and having to hold on to it until I could find my way out. With this being an 85% carbon stick, it was very stiff. Again, not as stiff as some 100%, 95% carbon sticks are. This stick still had fantastic power transfer, especially taking into account the lower carbon percentage. During my testing, I never felt that the stick was lacking in hitting power, whether that was clearing the ball from defence or taking a shot at goal. Because there is a little bit of flex to the stick, when you do miss-hit the ball, some of those vibrations are eaten up by the stick, so it's much kinder on your hands, especially in cold weather. This bow is a really nice shape when it comes to shooting. It has a nice angle to the face which allows you to get under the ball and lift it high into the goal with a great deal of control. But you can keep the ball flat to the pitch just with a slight adaptation of your technique. What I found with this stick is, even though it has that small amount of flex, it was very consistent in both the power and the accuracy of the hitting. What I found in the past with lower carbon sticks which have this flex is that it sometimes throws off the accuracy. But what I found with this one is it didn't have that problem. And like I say, I never once thought during testing that I was lacking in hitting power with this stick. The stick features a really nice square reverse edge, so it gives great connection when you're hitting on your reverse. It's both thick enough that you can keep the ball under control, but thin enough that if you want to, you can get under the ball to fire it high into the goal. The stick has a better power transfer when hitting on the reverse edge, just because of the shape of the stick. You get a much stiffer connection and so you get a higher power transfer. So this stick was absolutely wonderful when shooting on your reverse. The stick features a silver graphic running along the reverse edge, and as long as you make a connection on that silver pattern, you know you're hitting with the square of the stick, and it's super consistent and really easy to control. The stick features an aggressive extreme low bow curve. That means it's fantastic for getting under the ball, whether you're wanting to do 3D skills or shoot. Because it's so easy to get under the ball and sit it onto the face of the stick, you can easily lift the ball over a stick, whether to beat a defender or playing a short lifted pass to a teammate. It's easy to generate power by utilising the bow, so if you are wanting to use it for a flick shot at goal, it's very easy to roll the ball up into the bow and whip it back down to generate a great deal of power. Because it's 85% carbon composition, I was expecting the stick to have a little bit of flex even when flicking, but I couldn't feel any during my testing, and that gave me a lot of confidence in taking on flicked shots or flicked passes to teammates. There is a touch compound on this stick, and it really holds the ball quite nicely on the face of the stick when you're playing lifted passes or 3D skills. It gives you a great deal of confidence keeping the ball on the head of the stick as you move it into the air, especially if you're going to use any 3D skills like an air dribble to try and beat a defender. Again, this is an extreme low bow stick, so overhead passing is something it does really stand out in. That small amount of flex can be felt a little bit when you're throwing an overhead pass. I don't think it affects the range, but I do think it can throw off your accuracy just a little bit. So when you are throwing an overhead pass with this stick, you can get the ball up onto the head of the stick and into the bow to generate a great deal of power. You can easily throw the ball halfway down the pitch. Because there is a small amount of flex when you are playing these overhead passes, it can be a little bit more difficult to land it directly onto a teammate's stick. But I was confident I could always land it close enough for them to control the ball. But I just didn't feel I had the pinpoint accuracy that I've had with other stiffer sticks. That being said, I'm confident with a bit more practice I could have got that level of accuracy, but just in my testing with this stick, I couldn't quite land it exactly where I wanted it. So again, when it comes to drag flicking, this being an extreme low bow stick, it does really shine. It does feature that aggressive extreme low bow as I talked about, which means that the bow is both good for long and short drags for generating power. Whether with a short drag and you need to just whip it, it can generate a great deal of power, but on a longer drag you can add not only power but also deception to the ball. And because of that late acceleration down the bow, it's much harder for goalkeepers to read. There is a small amount of flex on the stick when you pick the ball up, and so you have to be very aware it can knock the ball slightly ahead of yourself. As long as you're using good technique with your drag flick, it's nothing that you have to worry about or even really pay too much attention to. I found the stick was really good for accuracy. I was always confident with holding the ball on the head of the stick during the release of the drag flick and being able to put the ball into the corners of the goal. The power that it can generate on a longer drag is absolutely fantastic, but as I mentioned, even on a short drag, you can generate a great deal of power and whip. And so when there is a good first runner, this stick I found was really excellent. So I would strongly recommend looking into this brand. This stick is really fantastic, and in terms of value for money, I think it's very hard to beat, as I think they are only asking for around £200 for this stick. It has great power for hitting on open stick and is superb for hitting on reverse. It has an aggressive but usable extreme low bow, so it's great for flicking, overheads, and especially drag flicking. The stick has a small amount of flex, which is very forgiving if you're coming from a higher carbon stick down to this, and is really a joy to hit with, and you don't have to worry about the vibrations, especially in the cold. So it allows you to hit more consistently powerful all through the season, especially here in the UK. So again, highly recommend this stick. I think it is fantastic. If you've enjoyed this review, please leave a like, leave a comment of any questions or any sticks you'd like to see me review in future, and as always, please subscribe. It really does help out with getting this out there. If you want to support further, you can join the Boss F Hockey Club via Patreon or on my website bossfhockey.com. That money just helps towards running costs, and any excess goes towards giveaways. If you want to, you can get some Boss F Hockey gear. So I sell hockey t-shirts on my website bossfhockey.com. And if you film yourself doing any hockey related stuff in a Boss F Hockey t-shirt, I will share it on social media as well.